So it is my genuine pleasure to introduce someone who I think of as one of the unsung heroes of SaaS, a founder, builder, and someone who actually gets partnerships, not just as a tactic, but as a strategy. Bryn Jones is the co-founder and CEO of PartnerStack, the world's largest B2B partner ecosystem platform, a company that actually started in Combinator back in 2015, which you guys could probably publicize more. Very humble. Long before partnerships were cool. Before that, Bryn was a competitive swimmer on Canada's national team, which probably explains his endurance both in the pool but also in building a startup for over 10 years. And now PartnerStack has helped hundreds of SaaS companies scale partner-led motion, transacted well over billions of dollars, and have raised tens of millions in funding. And as a fun fact, Bryn doesn't do social media anymore. So if you want to reach him after tonight, email is probably your best friends. Please welcome Bryn Jones.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, you got the mic?
I think that works. Yeah. There we go.
Good,
Thank you.
good.
What an introduction. Thank you.
Cool. All right. So we're going to start with opening and origin stories. This is just a quick one about PartnerStack's Toronto roots. So Bryn, would love if you could just tell us a story of building PartnerStack in Toronto. Why has Toronto been such a strong city for PartnerStack to be born and raised?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So PartnerStack got started way back in 2015. Prior to PartnerStack, we built a company called Pod. It was software for nonprofits. We like to say that it was like Slack, except worse in every way. The only thing that we did was scheduling, which is incredibly important inside for nonprofits. And really the only thing that worked at the time was this refer a friend program. We really had no idea what we had built. Much larger companies started reaching out to us saying like, hey, how'd you build your partner program? Many of them were Canadian. And the origin story goes like we went down to Shopify in 2015. This is before they went public, before this is, the company that your parents now know. And they explained to me what their partnership strategy was. And that was where things got started. But there's so many Canadians in partnerships, like people might not know, but Jay McBain, many of the folks over at Pax8, AppDirect, like there's so many Canadians across partnerships, which I think is really cool.
No, thank you for that. And we're grateful that you're building it here in Toronto. Next segment, the evolution of partnerships and ecosystems. So I think this will be great, especially for a lot of us who haven't spent a decade plus in partnerships. Obviously, Bryn has that perspective on that arc. So first one is around sales-led to ecosystem-led growth. Take us back for a moment. How have partnerships evolved over the past 15 to 20 years in B2B SaaS?
Yeah, I might even go back further than that.
Let's do it.
Going back to the 90s, like channel was primary go-to-market. Channel was an incredibly effective way for companies to get in front of customers because SaaS, which is crazy to say now, SaaS didn't exist, right? Like you're shipping like CD-ROMs. And so the channel is the best way for that to happen. And so the channel has had its heyday in the 90s. SaaS almost killed the channel, at least like for earlier stage companies, because all of a sudden it became so much easier for companies to go direct to customers, cut out the middleman. And that worked from, call it 2000 through to 2015-ish. And then people started to realize like there's more efficient ways to reach customers. Then you went into a marketing-led motion. You saw success expansion. Where we are today is that pieces of technology aren't sold standalone. They're sold as a stack of solutions. People are bringing a whole bunch of stuff together. I think 97% of people that show up to your company's website, they've already made the buying decision. And so that's why it's not just the channel, it's become the ecosystem. Ecosystem is the source of trust. It's the place that people go. It's why people are so informed. And, that's why companies need to lean into partnerships and ecosystem.
Love that. I mean, look, I think you can tell right away, like Bryn is a true student of the game. He's lived it. So really encourage you to like pay close attention because having a deep understanding of how your profession industry has evolved really helps you understand the path forward. I think it's so important to be a student of the game. So speaking of that, one of those last points, Bryn, you mentioned like buyers being more informed. Let's talk about today's buyer reality. Buyers are now showing up more incredibly informed. You've been quite vocal about this, often because of the ecosystem surrounding a product. So question for you is how has this changed the role of partnerships, the role that partnerships play across marketing, sales, and product now that buyers are showing up so much more informed?
I think the way to frame it is like, what's the opportunity for partnerships in this moment? And the way I say it's like, what's the opportunity in this moment is if you don't have that executive buy-in, you're going to just bang your head up against the wall. But at the same time, you have to be able to explain the opportunity to the executive team. I think that what's unique a little bit about me, and I'm certainly biased and believe full stop in partnerships, but sitting in the role of the CEO, having sat in umpteen board meetings at this point in time. The pressure that the executive team faces is, I just need to grow faster and more efficient. And as a member, the person that's making the decisions, fighting on behalf of our team with our board and the board of others, we're just looking for the most efficient go-to-market channel. If you can show that you're the most efficient go-to-market channel, everyone is willing to back up the truck. And like that's all that's the only competition. We can tell ourselves stories a million different ways, but if you can build a credible case for ecosystem to be the most efficient go-to-market channel, it works. And so the opportunity is, if we as partnership professionals can tell that story, and the executive team actually buys in and is willing to support you with that, and I can talk about a million different metrics, the opportunity that partnerships has now is you get to stand out. You can actually build integration or product partnerships across platforms. You can even appear in LLMs. Partnerships has the ability to impact that. That's something I'm super excited to talk about. But it helps you from all the way from product discovery through to close. But the real opportunity in all of it is, like, you just have to show that you're the most efficient go-to-market motion.
Absolutely. I think that's super important. And again, reminder, there'll be open Q&A later, so take note of your questions. To not push back, but flip it, right? So I totally hear, and I think we all agree. And you, like, hearing from a respected CEO, I think that's validating. But for a lot of folks in this room, there might be several layers between them and the executive team, and they're banking, like, maybe they're high performers, and a lot of them are in the room, but they're banking on their boss and their boss's boss being effective in being able to ladder up that message. I think it was Kasha earlier who said, like, look, like, that's not the case. Like, there's vertical, like, mold, so to speak, where the ICs might be doing a great job, but they don't get to have meetings with the VPs and the C-suite and the CEO. They don't get to attend board meetings. So they're trusting several layers above them. So I guess the question for you as a follow-up is, like, look, we all believe what you said. Like, you need to show you're the most efficient GTM motion in the company. $1 in equals several dollars out. But, like, what would you say to the average IC or, like, frontline manager who, maybe is doing a great job, but ultimately is relying on other folks to get that message up to someone like yourself?
Yeah, you really have to simplify it and talk the language of go-to-market and not talk the language of partnerships, right? Like, you have to ignore what you do on a day-to-day basis, and you have to talk the language of the CRO, talk the language of the CFO. And the challenge right now, often the reason why that's not happening, is because people don't know how to translate partnership jargon into revenue and pipeline metrics. And that's a hard thing for everybody in this room to do, because you have to figure out how to do it, right? So you have to be talking about qualified leads, you have to be talking about pipeline, you have to be talking about, like, closed revenue. You don't need to be talking about total number of partner touch points. You don't need to be talking about, like, partners that are active or inactive in your program. Like, the cold reality is no one cares. You care, but no one cares. What they care about is, what does pipeline look like, and what percentage of pipeline is converting to revenue, and what is the cost to do that. Those are the three effective things that need to go on and happen. And you have to simplify your story to speak that language versus expecting them to meet you where you are. And that's just, I'm just being honest. If I could tell you a million different other ways in order to go in and do it, and I'm sure you all have tried that. But the cold reality is, you have to speak the language. And then the second thing is, the same way as, you're being evaluated as a go-to-market leader, as a partnership leader, you should be evaluating your company and seeing if they're truly committed to partnerships. You have an option to be there or not, and you should be qualifying them the entire time. I think that when partnership leaders realize the power that they have, when you have all of these skills, like, everyone wants a more efficient go-to-market motion. Every company is going to want it. So you should be qualifying them and speaking their language.
I love that. I think I saw a lot of head nodding in that session. I think that's, like, real talk. And again, like, this is not a direct level person. This is a CEO who is in these conversations every day. So I take a lot of credence there. And just, Bob Moore, CrossMe CEO, he says the exact same thing that you're saying, Bryn, is, like, you can't be making up these metrics to justify your impact. Like, you create so much cognitive dissonance within the CRO, the CEO, the CFO when they're like, what's partner influence? It's like, no, talk pipeline movement.
Yeah.
Like, show us how pipeline moves differently. As one really powerful anecdote from my own career that was easily the most impactful moment of my career in terms of like taking a big step up was I was a senior IC at Gorgeous, tech partner manager, and I just knew that like my pipeline was better. Like, what does better mean than other channels, like other acquisition channels? And fortunately, I had good RevOps, and Gorgeous was a long time customer of PartnerStack, and we had really strong RevOps. And I went to our RevOps team. I said, hey, like, do we like net revenue retention was like this North Star metric. Like, Bryn as a CEO would know that. So net revenue retention, it's like ARR, but it's a reflection of like, okay, you acquired $100 this year. Like, did that expand, right, or did it contract? And obviously, you want it to be north of 100%. So I messaged our ops team and I said, hey, look. Like, of the 13 unique deal sources we have for our company, tech partner referral, agency partner referral, marketplace referral, ads, organic, outbound, can you plot for the last year of all net new, like all new revenue, the highest performing channels from an NRR perspective to the lowest, right? Our BDR channel was 84% NRR. Does that sound good? No, right? 84% is a leaky bucket,
Yeah.
right? Terrible, right? Our agency channel was 102%, which we were SMB SaaS. So SMB B2B SaaS, 102% you can live with.
Yeah.
My tech partner channel was 108%, right? In that same time frame, second highest behind Shopify referral. When we got a Shopify referral, that thing was good as gold. So I had the second highest NRR channel of the 13 across the company. That allowed me to then talk to the executives with confidence, and they're like, oh, that's an investable channel. We will put more dollars there. So does that example resonate with you?
Yes. I want nothing more than to spend money
Literally.
on things that grow.
Yeah.
Like, two parts of the statement, right? Like, I want to spend money. I ask myself every day when we come in, how do we spend more money to make things grow? If you make that case, you will get that budget every single day. There's sometimes when it breaks down, like there's a million other factors to it, but not the CFO, but the CEO's job is to say, how do I spend money to grow? If you can answer that in a really succinct way, you will get more money.
In the last part there, thank you for sharing. The last part there is so important. If you can explain it,
Yeah.
right? A lot of you, and I get it, you have an impact, you're hitting quota, and you're like, that should be enough. But unfortunately, it's not enough. If you can't explain how, why would people invest, right? If the marketing leader says we generated $1 million in pipeline and revenue, and they can explain and show it to a CEO with crystal clear clarity, and then the partnership leader goes, well, we also generated $1 million in pipeline, and the CEO says, great, how did you do it? And they're like, well, it's like, well, who are you going to put the dollars towards, right? He's about mitigating risk as much as he's trying to facilitate growth. You got to ask yourself, where would you put dollars, right? So you have to improve your storytelling and your articulation skills. All right, that was a fun one. So let's get into AI automation and the new growth model. This will be a fun one. Bryn's super dialed in on all things AI and GTM. So the first one is around AI's impact on partnerships. Broadly speaking, how are AI and automation reshaping how companies grow and manage partnerships today?
I mean, I'll tell you how it's worked a little bit at PartnerStack. I think is a great use case. So we bought a whole bunch of software last year that enabled AI, and a lot of it doesn't work. The stuff that works changed our business. So what did we do coming out of last year? We increased the budget on technology for 2026, and we put a 25% buffer on it to actually increase it. And what I said was, I don't want to negotiate around price when we buy AI technology. I want to negotiate around opt-outs. We're willing to pay higher. Of course, there's always some version of a negotiation, but we need to be willing to buy software knowing it will fail. And so, the point being is there's a lot of claims inside of 2025, a lot of demos that worked really, really well, and things that just didn't work out. That being said, we would do it all over again based on the gains that it made for our business. So how does it apply to partnerships? The way that it applies to partnerships, I believe, is those administrative tasks that you're doing. much of that will and should be automated. So everything from the recruit and discovery to the activate, to the campaigns that go out, all the way down to payments. There will be like agents that exist around those key workflows, so you can do the second and third order things that are even more valuable, like strategize with your partner about specific deals. That's the stuff that has not yet been automated.
Yeah, I think that's a great list. Thank you for sharing that candid example within like PartnerStack's kind of like vendor procurement. I think that's something we can all take away as a note. And then in terms of like how it can disrupt positively like our roles, I totally agree. I think the key is you can't wait for your company to like knock on your door and be like, hey, Nadia, like we've now automated this part of your role. Like you need to be vocal, and you need to also be honest, like, hey, look, like where is the leverage? Like where's the highest leverage work that I can be spending manual hours on? And how can you ruthlessly try to avoid doing anything else? Ideally, getting up to speed on how to use these AI tools yourself to like build agents and get those workflows going.
And sorry, I might just jump in there. One more thing. The most important thing that partnership leaders need to see in what's happening today is LLM ranking. So ranking inside,
Question.
yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, I know
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
fired up
yeah,
about that one.
yeah.
That's the next one. So the next one around is discovery, distribution, and LLMs. So AI is now influencing software discovery itself. How should SaaS companies be thinking about how LLMs and AI-driven search affect where and whether their product shows up?
This is the thing that every CEO, whether it be public or private, is being asked for by their board. Why? Because it's everybody knows the world's changing. You can see traffic changing, moving from Google to these LLMs in very short periods of time. So the new buying is going to happen inside of the LLM. And so it's very easy for the C-suite and for boards of public and private companies to search their company's name and see where they rank. It is like cold water to the face. Because they see right away they might be the market leader, but they might not even appear in a search result. And every query every prompt that someone puts in might be a little bit different. And so the opportunity right now for partnership people is the C-suite cares about LLM ranking. Partnerships is the best way to improve LLM ranking. It's content partnerships. It's partners that are sharing things on Reddit, on forums and communities. It's like it. It's called GEO. It's an extension of SEO. But this is the moment for partnership people to lean in. And the reason why I say that is because if we let it pass us by, what will happen is the marketing team will take it from partnerships. Marketing's very good at attribution. Marketing's very good at getting budget, right? And this sits inside of partnerships today. And so partnership teams that start thinking like marketing teams and understand that, if you have the ability to influence your ranking on LLM, like that changes everything. That is going to open up. It's such an easy story to tell internally. We can walk you through how it happens. It's fairly technical, but all these prompts are sourced. The rankings are based on sources. The sources is linked to content. That content can be user generated content or can be on like a publishing site. This is happening right now. We are seeing like C-suite of public companies join calls with us saying, how do we better leverage that? We will spend however much money we need to make that happen. This is like a P1 inside the business.
Yeah, please.
Yes.
Yeah, I would love.
Yeah, we'll be talking a lot about this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll try to partner with them as well to bring as much content as I think. Like, look, Bryn is giving you like the cheat codes, right? Like hearing straight from CEO. This is a big opportunity. And again, getting like I talked earlier about like showcasing your impact, being more visible, being felt within your org, right? If you've got big brand partners who are willing to do co-marketing and this type of activities, you should be prioritizing it, right? Because again, if you can show the correlation between those activities and your company now being more visible, I think that's a huge unlock, right? Real quick, like from an attribution perspective, let's just say some of these folks do that with a couple of big partners. How do they make sure, like, and then say you're like, your GEO is improving as a company? Like, how do you make sure that like your contributions to that boost in GEO is kind of recognize, so to speak, versus the marketing team just saying, oh yeah, like, we're doing a lot too. And then you have this attribution war of like GEO boost.
Yeah, there's a great platform called PartnerStack that can help you do the attribution side of what's there. That's exactly what it is we go in and do. What I will say is don't focus if you go down this path. Like there's no need to actually focus on like the biggest brand and the biggest brand authority. What we're
Fair.
finding inside of GEO, it's actually the mid and long tail that has way bigger influence, which means you get to spend less money and drive bigger results today. So we are always happy to talk to everyone about that, but you have to have a tool in place to actually track what's there is the short version.
I love that. And I know firsthand that you guys are benefiting from this. Tyler Calder, the PartnerStack CMO, is a good friend. He used to tell me, like, I think as of like a year ago, you guys had like 0 traffic from GEO, and now it's like a pretty impressive driver. You're sharing some numbers, so they're living it. I think that's great. So now let's talk actually about PartnerStack's product strategy in the AI world. So the first question is around becoming, like from a system of record to a system of action. Recently, I was listening to a podcast of yours, and you predicted that partner relationship management tools, PRMs, will evolve from being systems of record to systems of action. Can you tell us what you mean by that?
Yeah, so PRMs, CRMs, these are effectively databases to log anything that's gone and happened, right? When agents can live on top of databases, action can happen without people. And it will enable you to focus the right set of energy on the right side of the partner at the right time. And so PRM is moving from a database to a database that supports agents. There are key agent workflows, everything from discover and recruit to activate to, you could even do quarterly business reviews with your partners through agents that will exist inside of the partnership stack. Does not exist today. I'm sure there are people that claim that it exists today. It doesn't. But all of these things are coming online. And so PRM partnerships is going to be about the action you can take as a result of what the agents are supporting you with.
Damn. Okay, that's good. So I was going to ask you about practical examples, but you kind of gave a few. So I'll ask you now about another similar topic that I know you're passionate about, which is multi-partner attribution, right? So measurement has always been a challenge in partnerships. So I'm curious, how do you personally think about multi-touch and multi-partner attribution, and why does this suddenly matter more at the CEO level than ever before?
Yeah, so it all goes back to the buyer journey. The buyer journey used to be like pretty linear, right? Back in the day of like CD-ROMs and you reach out to IT.
You used to sell CD-ROMs out of the back of your
I just
van?
remember it. That's how old I am. That's how I remember using it in school. The buyer journey's changed, right? It's far more complicated. People are showing up and are incredibly educated. And so what we have seen is the idea of this like ecosystem orchestration that needs to go and occur. The only way you can orchestrate your ecosystem is if you have the right attribution across the entire buyer journey. So like there's no single way that buyers come in today. You don't only go direct. Even in the case when you're going direct, they're probably at the same time while they're on a call with a BDR pulling up information on different alternatives, right? Very rarely is the first point of contact from the sales team actually the first point of contact that the buyer has with your piece of technology. It sounds like a hornet's nest, but it's not, because it can actually be mapped. It has to be mapped through attribution. This is something that PartnerStack does. But outside of AI and GEO, which we're incredibly focused on this year, multi-partner attribution is a core focus of PartnerStack, because we believe you need to engage the right partner at the right time to push the customer throughout the journey. And that journey isn't linear. It's all over the place. And so the idea behind multi-partner attribution is you have multiple partners that touch a customer, and those different partners should be incentivized in different ways. And so, you might be paying a partner 25% on a closed one, but instead you should be paying a partner, 20% at top of funnel, because it was actually the content that was published, which is more important. You should have that information at your fingertips. And that enables you to tell a better story to your C-suite.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's a really powerful, like, customer centric focus, and like certainly for the partner team. But I think another really important thing is, we talked earlier about how important it is to showcase your impact and be able to like explain the results and explain where the investment opportunity is. And a lot of partner pros and partner managers, are able to be comfortable with like, okay, here's how much revenue I'm driving, but it's like, which partners in particular are driving that impact? Obviously a great platform like PartnerStack will help you more than ever be able to like showcase specifically like these in this quarter, it was these partners, and actually being able to take a step further and be like, actually for some of these larger deals, multiple partners actually showed up and made an influence. And that gives you an even better opportunity to show the leverage that partnerships can bring. Lisa, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is that something that with AI PartnerStack is gonna build out with like summary reports of I've got like HubSpot integrations, I've built my own dashboards, but in the world of AI where you have all the partner data in PartnerStack, that's something you guys may end up building is like here's a summary report of what we think you should know and kind of help the partner person that maybe doesn't know what to ask and then give them their resource, or is that not on your guys' bill?
The multi-partner attribution is a multi-year journey that won't be turned on overnight. I would love to say that, but my product team would turn around and revolt if I did say that. We have the data, and the reason why I know we have the data and the data works is because we're the only platform that can help you with discovery and recruit of partners. And we have become incredibly successful at that using AI in the last 12 months. It has always been our vision to pair you with the right partner at the right time. It's why all the partners on PartnerStack also are our users, so that we have the ability to go in and do that with you. We also want to provide them a single dashboard because that just, we believe, it leads to the best partner experience. But we are doing this today. We are pairing our customers with the right partner today. And so the next step, or one of the next steps, would being able to provide that summary.
Amazing. All right, cool. Now let's look ahead and talk about GTM and enablement in 2026. So just two questions in this segment. Let's talk about your biggest GTM prediction. Looking ahead throughout this year, what's your biggest single GTM prediction for B2B SaaS? Take it in any direction.
No playbooks. Throw out playbooks. Don't spend any time reading anything that says playbook. It is completely discredited if it says playbook. I'm sure we have playbooks on our website.
Yeah,
Don't
same.
ignore it. The rate of change that's happening in B2B SaaS has accelerated, and it's not going to stop. And so the result of that is all these playbooks are built on things that happened 2-3 years ago. Not relevant anymore. Like completely not relevant. Not even relevant if you're applying things that happened 6 months ago, really. Like if you're super cutting edge on what's happening. And so I believe we're moving from playbooks to enablement. I believe, this was completely separate to this. I believe it's going to be community enablement. It's going to be like real-time learning based on the specific variables that exist inside of what your job is. And I think that's why, groups like this are so important.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, as someone who's literally like built a career like popularizing like playbooks and having built so many playbooks, initially it's a gut punch, but it's actually like a reality check because I've learned that as well. Like, look, like I started with courses and then I was also shipping playbooks. I used to sell playbooks, like professional grade playbooks to companies, but you realize like it doesn't match reality of modern times, which is like agility, and like just being versatile. So that's why like today we just launched the Mastermind Collective app. And it's not playbooks, it's a collection of AI tools, bite size, that are pre-configured for you to create what you need on the fly, right? So it's way more dynamic. So it is really powerful to hear you say that. And so now let's talk about the future of enablement, which you said is what's coming. How do you see education enablement changing as AI becomes more deeply embedded in how teams operate?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the more you share with any of these, tools or platforms, whatever they may be, the more data you share with them, the better you will be enabled. Like, I think I had a few conversations over at lunch, and often the answer is like, it depends. And the reason the answer is it depends is it actually depends, right? Like, what is the value proposition of your company? What is the ACV? What do your existing customers look like? Do you have a new program? Is it an existing program? Are you strategically told from top down to go in it? All of these things really, really matter. Does the market change? Like, I can speak from experience. Our business was just humming along. Everything was going really great. Silicon Valley Bank failed. Our customer base is go-to-market. The average B2B company cut go-to-market 40% in that moment, right? Like that's a sledgehammer, not a scalpel. The playbook that existed 6 months beforehand would not have worked. And so the more data you can share, the more real-time learnings you can get in that moment, the more open you are, the faster you'll be able to move and adapt to whatever kind of is thrown in front of you.
Yeah, that was really great. So big prediction for 2026, playbooks are dead. Enablement is the key, and really just being adaptive and versatile. And the more data you have in front of your fingertips, the better, and you're able to layer AI on top of that. So now let's talk about what I think will be one of the more popular segments, as great as it's already been, AI productivity and job security, which is a hot topic. So the first question is around the CEO's balancing act. There's real anxiety about job security right now. So I'm curious, as a CEO, how do you think about using AI to boost productivity without defaulting to constant headcount counts? And as just a quick preface, you can imagine as a CEO, you're incentivized to generate the same amount of revenue with less employees because that's less salary, which is one of the biggest costs you have for a business. So the question, to put it another way, Bryn, is you are incentivized technically to minimize headcount. So how do you balance wanting to grow, right? While also you're an empathetic leader without wanting to like ruthlessly cut headcount where everyone is just kind of paralyzed worrying about their job security. So how do you personally think about that?
All I want to do is spend more money. Like, I want to spend money on things that I know are going to grow. And so like every CEO wants to do that. And so if I know spending more money will result in more growth, I will do that every single day. But there are moments in time, and I'll give an example what happened, like when Silicon Valley Bank failed for us. What it meant to us is we went from a win rate of over 20-25% down to single digits and low single digits. In that moment, no matter how much money we were to go and spend, we would lose. And so in a moment like that, you have to do the ruthless thing and cut, because you don't know when the market's going to come back online. I'll tell you what we did even more specifically. We even pulled back on our own partner team. We cut partnerships because nothing was working. We paired the partnership team with our AEs so that they were able to do direct and indirect. We brought some partnership people over to that team, but we really had to simplify in that moment. The C-suite is probably doing the same thing at your company. And so, I think that the opportunity for AI is actually just, the market is constantly changing. As long as you can show that you can grow in a capital efficient way, and you will have a job. But the market is constantly changing. And we just need to be uncomfortable. We need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable and just saying the truth, which is we can't control the market. There's a million things that might happen. I mean, maybe Trump invades Canada next week. But the last 5 years has shown, as a CEO, you have to absolutely expect the unexpected. And you should know that. That's the cold hard truth with it. And as long as you can adapt to any changing environment, whether that's COVID or lockdown, like whatever it ends up being, a bank failure, economic turmoil because of politics, like, we can't control those things. But what we can control is the data that we have that supports whether we are growing or not. And we have to be adaptive when the market changes.
Amazing. I mean, look, I think we can appreciate how candid and vulnerable you were just sharing your experiences at PartnerStack, and I think we hear you loud and clear. So there's a follow-up question, which is around kind of like more internal. How do you as a CEO kind of communicate and mandate kind of upskilling around cutting edge AI? So as an example, Toby Luca, Shopify CEO, famously had his internal memo leaked like 6 to 10 months ago, where he was basically like, hey, look, we are an AI company now. And if you don't level up on AI, GTFO, right? Like, get out. There won't be a place for you, right? And so he's on one end of the spectrum. But I also talked to other CEOs like Bob Moore across him, and he's like, look, like, there's an expectation, but it's not like hardly enforced. Like, we just want people to like, generally get better. So I'm curious, where do you fall on that spectrum of, expecting the PartnerStack org to be like leaning in with the best in class AI tools to like supercharge their productivity? Like, how do you kind of communicate and think about that?
I think of it as far as like career advice. For you to have the biggest impact in your career, learning AI and how to better to use your job, like leveraging AI, is incredibly important. Not just in your job today, but for the next 5, 10, 15 years. You always have to be learning and growing. And so it really, really matters. And the way I communicate as CEO is different, right? The way I would steer a ship at the size of Shopify is I'd have to do like hard, aggressive turns because it just takes a long time for the ship to turn around. At a company the size of PartnerStack, I could be more nuanced because I'm way more agile in what I can get the business to go on and do. So my mandate to the company is if you want your career to grow, you need to start learning AI. I want to see AI being executed, and my expectation is we should be pushing it so far that we learn the things that don't work. I do not believe AI is a silver bullet. I believe it will significantly enhance everything it'll let us do a lot more. Certainly, I'm sure there'll be some drawbacks. But that's the way I think of it. It's a little more nuanced, and it's a little more nuanced because it can be a little more nuanced. I'm sure some of you work at very big companies, and I wouldn't be surprised if you got the same type of memo. And in that moment, you have to hear what they're saying and lean into what's there.
Yeah, I think I appreciate you sharing the candidness. I think a key takeaway is like, look, he's said this a few times, like efficiency. Like you should all be thinking about yourselves as your own like P&L. Right? And I always said this to my team, like, look, you cost the business money and you also bring the business money, right? You need to understand what that looks like, and you always want to be, in the positive, obviously not in the negative. So the way to think about AI, you're like, where do I even begin? It's like, well, what tools that exist in the market, which is why you need to be studying that, can create those highest leverage efficiency gains, right? So for every $1, now you're getting 1.2, 1.5, 2. So if you're thinking like, where do I even begin? Well, what type of thing, like what are the problems right now that are holding you back from efficiency gains? Then go find the tools that can help you solve that problem. Cool. So just a couple last questions, and then we'll wrap up, and then we'll take a coffee break. So the second last one is around career advice for partnership leaders. So, what separates S tier, which is like the highest level partner managers? So when you think and look at the very best partnership leaders, partnership operators, are there certain traits that come to mind that separate them from everybody else?
Yeah, I would say the best partnership leaders think like marketers, act like salespeople.
That's a buy.
So they use the frameworks and understand pipeline in a way that is incredibly sophisticated, and they drive new revenue. And you have to wear both hats. You also have to have a lens of product leadership and seeing where those net new opportunities can go and be. But the absolute best partnership people that I've seen is they think like marketers and act like salespeople.
I love that. I think that's great. And I agree. I think partnerships is so heavily steeped in like marketing oriented tactics, so to speak, and there's huge opportunity there. But at the end of the day, on the sales side, like you need to be generating revenue and pipeline, and that revenue and pipeline needs to be healthy, right? It can't be super cost prohibitive. It can't be not scalable. So I think that's a good one. So the second and last one here is a high leverage skill bets. If a partner manager could only invest deeply in one or two skills in 2026 to give them the highest leverage, what would you recommend?
You need to learn the language of go-to-market. I cannot stress that enough. You need to be able to you need to go and spend time with your CMO or your CRO and say, like, run me through a deck that you walk the board through. What is the dashboard you look at every single day? And you need to pay attention to every single piece of jargon that exists in there and be able to say it backwards to them by the end of the call. You need to go and speak the language, and you need to meet them where they are. They're ready for it. Again, you need to know that everybody wants to spend money except for the CFO. Everybody wants to spend money. They just want to spend money on things that grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another one on that is, understanding the business at the highest level is such an important skill. Like one of my favorite traits about anyone that I'd manage is curiosity for how the business works. It's totally understandable that you just want to do your job and clock out at the end of the day and not go the extra mile. But this sounds like a simple one. But, every month when I was at Gorgeous, our CEO would release a monthly memo to the board, and then we would all get a version of it. And it was a Notion doc, right? And if you're familiar with Notion, at the top right, you can see who's looked at the document. And I would go look, I'd be like, who on my team has read this document, right? And I love that because it shows that they want to understand the mechanics of how this business works. They want to understand how the engine works. So be curious, understand the company at a high level, even beyond your pay grade. Maybe you're an IC or a manager level, and you're like, oh, this is a VP's responsibility to understand this document. Well, why isn't it yours, right? The more you understand the business, the better able you are to orient yourself correctly and be strategic in how you execute. So I think that's a great lesson. And just to wrap up, this is more of a personal kind of closeout. But look, you've been a super generous mentor and supporter of mine and Partnership Mastermind. So I'm just curious, why do you see this community as something worth investing your personal and business resources into?
I think that it's really easy to be a loud voice online. I don't think that solves the core problems. I think that your core problems will be solved in and amongst the community, and anything that me, Bryn, or PartnerStack can do to enable that, we want to be supportive of it. Be very wary of things that are not that. I think that cold hard truth is like everybody in this community can be incredibly successful if you learn how to be a go-to-market leader, and if you find a company that's willing to buy into the story that you can tell. We're going to be supportive of that every single day. We think that's a sustainable way that sets you all up for success without giving you false promises. And so I just, really thank you for including us in this. It's very cool to see what everyone here, what you're building, and how everybody is building it with you. It's super inspiring.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Bryn. This was a fantastic 45 minutes. This was recorded, so this will be on our YouTube channel as well, which is great. So please give me a loud round of applause for Bryn.